Hello, good people, and thank you so much for checking out my channel. I'm your girl, Kina. So this is the recap of the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip, Season 2, Episode 5. And this is called The Ultimate Thirst. So this is day 5 of the girls being at the Stone Manor. And the ladies are all getting dressed with their purses and everything ready to go. They're thinking they're going somewhere for a hot air balloon. They get outside and they see that the hot air balloon is actually there at the Stone Manor. So Brandy decides that she's not going to participate because she's afraid of heights. And Eva's still working on her radio job. It's really early in the morning, so Eva's not going to participate either. And Eva also shares that she wasn't going to participate anyway because she's also afraid of heights, other than being on the airplane. So while they're waiting on the hot air balloon to be blown up in the yard, the ladies are like on the patio, except for Dorinda at that moment, and Jill's like chatting with the ladies about the night before when her and Dorinda got into it because Jill asked Eva if she could come in while Eva was on her radio job, and Dorinda basically told Jill to stop being thirsty and no, she couldn't go in there with Eva. And Eva also told Jill that she couldn't be there. First of all, she can't see or hear anything, and it's her job, so no, she shouldn't be there. So, of course, Dorinda has not addressed the issue of Dorinda's not even giving it any attention at all. She's acting like nothing happened, and so that's what Jill is talking about with the ladies, that Dorinda's just letting it be, and she would appreciate it if someone would bring it up later on, not now, but maybe after they have the hot air balloon ride. And so Dorinda walks in and Jill stops talking, and Dorinda's like, no, you don't have to stop talking. You can keep talking. It's okay. It's all right. Say what you got to say. And so Jill pretty much tells, she brings it up. And and she tells Jill, and Dorinda tells Jill again that she was being thirsty. And, they just go back and forth about it. And so they decide just to call a truce. Call a truce about the whole situation. And they go on the hot air balloon ride. And they are really surprised, just like I am, when they find out that the balloon is not going to go anywhere. It's not going to like take them across Massachusetts to, another area or anything like that. The balloon is tied down and it only goes up about 500 feet, which is really nice because they get a great view, overall view of Bluestone Manor. So the ladies were really excited about being able to see the property that way, and very much so for Dorinda. And Dorinda even shares that she's like, I guess she has like a proud moment to see her estate and to know that she's kept this estate and been taking care of it ever since her husband died, because there was times when she thought that she wouldn't be able to do that by herself. So she has her proud moment and everything. um So they get back to the house and they're to go to have breakfast. And Eva, she's finished with her radio job, so she's also coming down to breakfast. And Jill tells Eva that Dorinda thought that Jill was being thirsty, and she asks Eva what she thought. And so that's when they have it. Well, they're showing all the ladies in their confessionals saying, yeah, Jill is like the thirstiest person there. She's very, very thirsty. But Eva was pretty much like it wasn't a big deal and all that stuff. But overall, Jill is thirsty. All right. So they go to the table, and Dorinda's in her room already. Dorinda's just like chilling in her room. Maybe she's doing cameos or whatever. But the other ladies are sitting down having breakfast. And of course, Jill is still talking about this whole thing with Dorinda. And she's saying that Dorinda just let the fame go to her head. And Vicky was saying that Dorinda turns into that when Dorinda drinks at night, she turns into the psycho bitch. The psycho bitch comes out. And so Eva feels uncomfortable and she gets up from the table because she doesn't want to be talking behind Dorinda's back, especially with them being in Dorinda's house. So she goes to Dorinda's room. And so when she goes to Dorinda's room, Dorinda shares that she believes Jill is mad because she didn't have her to film with her while she was a housewife on the show. So we already know some back history that Jill, when she was an actual housewife on The Real Housewives of New York, she did have a season where she had Dorinda to come on to film. However, once Jill was let go and Dorinda was an actual housewife, Dorinda has been avoiding Jill and she never would film with Jill. So it's like, they have that little tension going on. And so Eve was like, well, okay, well, that's something y'all have to hash out, something y'all have to talk about or whatever. All right. So later on, the ladies, they go out for day drinks. And while they're sitting in the alley having their drinks, Brandy asked Phaedra when was the last time she was in love. And Phaedra said that she's in love now. And they was like, what? What's his name? How did you meet him? And so she was like, she doesn't want to share the information on that camera. She doesn't want to talk about it on the show. And Phaedra, maybe that's why you're not on The Real Housewives, because you don't share information. I don't know. All right. And then, of course, they get on the topic of Vicky. Vicky, she's talking about how all of her friends from high school have been married to the same person. They've been married for such a long time. And so Dorinda's like, well, that's the way it is in OC, right? And then she was like, no, 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 I'm not from OC. I'm originally from Chicago or whatever. And so she was saying that, well, I'm sorry, Tamara mentioned that the guy Steve that just recently broke up with Vicky, she would have been his fourth wife. So he's been married multiple times. So something's up with this guy. That's pretty much what Tamara was trying to hint at. And so Vicky was like, well, it would have been my third time or something. I think it would have been her third marriage, So it's like she's making an excuse for him. And so Tamara's like, well, I think Vicky really misses Brooks. That was the guy before that had lied about having cancer or whatever. He was such a crook. And so she was like, no. And she was like, yeah, you miss Brooke, because Brooke used to be giving you the D. And then someone asked the question about, well, was he a looker? Did he look good? And Brandy's at the other end of the table, and she was like, no, 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 no. He was not attractive. That was really funny to me, the way that she said it. All right, so they're all getting along, hallelujah, finally, and they decide to go back to the house to get in the pool, which Dorinda makes mention that she heated it for them. Of course, it cost her money, but she said she heated the pool for the first time in many years. All right, so while they're outside, Jill is like one of the first people outside, her and Taylor, by the pool, and Marcos, he comes around with some flowers that's been sent, and the flowers are for Jill. Actually, it's Jill, Taylor, and Eva at the pool. And so the flowers are for Jill, and one of the things in the flowers was an apple. And the flowers are from her boyfriend, Gary. And so the ladies asked Jill if she wanted to be back on the show. And Jill said that she would like to be back on the show, but she wants to be a friend of, because a friend of don't have to carry as much drama, All right. So, I don't know. It's kind of weird that he sent the flowers with the apple in it. I'm quite sure him and Jill planned that, and she made sure to take the apple out and to hold it. So, she's trying to let production know that she wants to be back on the show. All right. So, later on that night, the ladies, they go to Dorinda's old workplace, and it's one of the locations that whenever someone's visiting Massachusetts, that area is where they would stay, of course, if they're not staying with Dorinda. And it's called the Red Lion Inn. And Dorinda, she makes mention that she worked there many years, that she even started working there when she was 14 years old on upward into her 20s, I think even her late 20s. So she's worked at that place for a long time. And when they get there, they're seated outside while their table is being ready. And while they're sitting outside, of course, Brandy, she asked Vicky about from one of her seasons, the rumor about Vicky having a threesome, and Vicky was like, "No, that wasn't true." And the person, Laurie, that was trying to start the rumor, well, that started the rumor, that she was just really thirsty too. She was just also trying to have a TV moment, and that one of the people that was in the room that she was talking about was Vicky's own sister. So, it was just like a rumor that someone was just trying to have a TV moment with. All right, so they go inside of the diner, and as soon as they sit down, Vicky's like, she's looking to whoop it up, and she's saying that it feels really stuffy because the place is like really old, and all the ladies are talking about how old the place looks and everything. And Dorinda was like, "What do you mean it's stuffy?" And someone mentioned about how many more days they have there, and Vicky's like, "What? I thought we was leaving sooner." And they was like, "Well, Vicky, why did you even come? Because ever since you've been here, you've been complaining and all that stuff." And so Dorinda even goes into telling Vicky once again that she's been negative ever since she's been there, and she really needs to have a better attitude. And some of the ladies said, well, Vicky did get a little better. She's been a little better than what she when she first got there, as far as her attitude. So Dorinda asked the ladies also what disappointed them the most with the Housewives show. And what they do is they turn around and ask her what was her disappointment. And she starts to talk about how hard she worked for the show, and that she never took naps, and she like looked at Vicky because Vicky's been taking naps. However, Dorinda, Vicky's been taking naps because Vicky's sick. She came to the show sick, and they even had to take her to urgent care, and she's on meds. So the lady is recovering. She had the C prior to coming there, and she had been recovering from that. And once she got there, she found out that she had a sinus infection, had to get a shot, and also had to get medication. So of course she's gonna want to take naps, but Dorinda's not trying to hear that. And so she's like, throwing little jabs at Vicky about taking naps, and she said that she never takes naps, and she's only going to take her nap when everything is over and they leave. And then that's when production showed Dorinda when she's went and taking her naps as they have been filming this show. So Dorinda, she's been drinking quite a few martinis, so she is well lit anyway. So anything is coming out of that mouth. All right. All right. So they get back on to Jill and Dorinda about their argument from earlier, and about people being thirsty, about Jill being thirsty, and then um, Jill brings up when Dorinda was on the show, she was drunk, and that's probably why they let her go, because she don't know how to contain her alcohol. And Dorinda saying that she didn't drink on one of the last seasons, and then they show where she did have a drink. And it's true, Dorinda, she was really slurring really bad, and things were not good for her while she was filming the Housewives show, because once she get those spirits in her, she really gets loose, and it's just like a disgusting mess. So, and then Dorinda tells Jill that she ruined the night because she became hysterical about nothing when she told her that she couldn't go in the room with Eva while Eva was doing her job. And they decide to just apologize and call her the truth again. So overall, Jill, she mentions in her confessional that She's just going to go ahead and apologize and let it go because she understands that she cannot argue with a drunk person. Because Jill doesn't drink. And it's clear that Dorinda is very drunk. All right. So once things calm down, oh, even before they apologize to each other, I'm sorry. Brandy says that Dorinda came into Phaedra's room and had dropped a bomb. And she was like, what bomb? And then that's when Dorinda said that Jill was talking about her boyfriend Gary at her husband Bobby's funeral. So I guess Jill's already been with Gary for a while. Even, I don't know. It's just a hot mess. And so Jill denies it, and Dorinda said she didn't talk to Jill while they were filming, and they was at Bobby's funeral, and she thought it was so morbid for them to be there with cameras. And Jill said that she never asked them to film, and she didn't even know they was there. And they was like, whoa, 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 what do you mean you didn't know they was there? They have to get clearance before they show up. Bravo has to have clearance before they show up with cameras, so that's not true. And so Dorinda said that Bethany even told her that Jill had called her and asked her to come film at the funeral. And Jill denies it. But then they show a clipping from one of the reunion shows, and that's when Andy Cohen himself says that they were invited, that Bravo was invited to film at the funeral. And then in Jill's confessional, the producer is reading an email to Jill that was sent from Jill's assistant at that time, stating that Jill wanted Bravo to be there to film. And of course, Jill is still denying, and saying that she would never invite cameras to a funeral. Maybe outside, but she would never invite cameras inside of a funeral. Yeah, get your lies straight, Jill, please. But anyway, as I mentioned earlier, it gets to the point where her and Dorinda decide to just apologize. Well, Jill said she wasn't going to argue with a drunk person. All right, so you would think things would calm down after that mess, right? Well, it didn't. The next thing that happened is that Taylor, I guess, and I'm going to agree with Brandy, because Brandy said that Taylor was just also trying to have a TV moment. Taylor asked Brandy about when she was on season 2 of Beverly Hills Housewives, if she regret telling that Adrienne did not carry her kids and that her kids would buy a surrogate. And they were like, what? That was so old ago. Why would you even bring that up? And then she's telling Brandy that Brandy came on to a show that was already so successful, that she was like the little cinnamon that came and got into the hot water. And they was like, what do you mean? It didn't even make sense. And so Brenda was like, well, what are you talking about? And she was like, me and Adrienne are cool. We text and talk now to each other. And no one understood why Taylor was bringing this up. This is like so old, like so many years ago, like maybe 13 years ago or something. And she's talking about Brandy came onto their show, and that their show was the only show that got a critically acclaimed award or something like that. Critics award. I think that's what she said. And all the other lady was like, what does that mean? And that it was such a successful show, and she pretty much was saying they didn't need Brandy there, and Brandy just came to start trouble. And so Brandy was like, why would you say it was such a successful show for you? That's when your husband, Taylor's husband he did away with himself. And they was like, what? So it really turned dark when Brandy said that. It wasn't cool. And she definitely did not say it the way that I'm saying it. I'm not going to repeat the way she said it. But it was really nasty and it was cold. But it's like, anytime you throw something at Brandy, you could throw a rock at, Phaedra said it, you could throw a rock at Brandy, and Brandy's going to come back with a gun shooting five or more times. So just like leave her alone, because she does low blows, and it was a low blow. And everyone's at the table telling her that. So Brandy gets up, she walks off, try to collect herself and everything. Phaedra and Jill, they follow her, and also Eva comes over to the table. And so they decide to go back to the table again for dessert. And once they get back to the table for dessert, Dorinda, who's lit, tells Brandy not to ever say that again. And she said, what if someone said something dark about your son, said something about your son? What if your son was to die? And they was like, whoa, what? No, Dorinda. And they had just talked about family being off limits. And Dorinda makes that comment. It was so outrageous. So Brandy gets up before she knocks the hell out of Dorinda, and she goes over to the bar, tells the bartender to give her a drink. Phaedra comes over, her and Jill, and they're trying to calm Brandy down. And Phaedra's telling her, and Brandy's like, I'm gonna F that lady up. I'm gonna fuck her up. And so Phaedra's like, no, you can't do that. That lady's old enough to be your mom. And Brandy tells Phaedra, to my, no, she's not. We're only 5 years apart. Oh my gosh. Even the bartender was cracking up laughing. And Phaedra's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. And then, of course, Dorinda comes over. She comes stumbling over to the bar. And she's still at Brandy. And it's like Brandy jumps up and she leans towards Dorinda, and they almost get into a fight. Phaedra takes Brandy and she's pushing her out the door. And of course, they came in separate cars and they were trying to get Brandy in the car. So that pretty much how the episode pretty much how the episode ended. And then we hear Eva making a comment that Dorinda's gonna never get her old, say they're showing out bad at Dorinda's old job, and Dorinda will never work there again. All right, so that was a recap of the Ultimates Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip. This is season 2, and it's been good so far, so we'll see what happens on the next episode. Thank you guys so much for checking out my channel. I hope you continue to have a great day.